said I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Feeling fussy, walking in my Balenciennes, trying to bring out the fabulous. Cause I give a fuck way too much. I'ma need like 2 shots.
Well, her name is Lizzo, and this one is titled About Time. This is Love in the Morning here on Love 99.5. Thanks very much for your time. Today is Tuesday, the 6th of June. It is the birthday of Thomas Kwarteng, one of our engineers here at Love 99.5. It's also the birthday of Pastor Ransford Obeng of the CCC. Pastor Ransford, good morning to you and happy birthday to you, sir. All right, so Ghanaians are expected to brace themselves, and listen carefully, brace themselves as there is a possibility of freeze on public sector employment. There's a possibility, the likelihood of a freeze on public sector employment. No salary adjustments, payment of realistic tariffs when it comes to, utility usage, especially as we're being told that we need to be paying realistic tariffs. Now, fuel prices is likely to be going up, and these are largely, part of an IMF program. Now, how will all these impact your life? What fears do you have? Now, as at the third quarter of last year, that is 2022, the unemployment figures stood at some 1.6 million. Some 1.6 million as at the third quarter of last year were unemployed. Is a figure supposed to worsen this year, looking at the program that we are under? Aside from that, the minimum wage is also pegged around 14.88. That's 14 cedis, 88 pesos. Now, what does this mean to you if that is what you earn? Or even if you earn somewhere around even 20 Ghana cedis a day, what does this mean to you? Because if there's going to be increases in or reviews, quarterly reviews of utility tariffs, if there's going to be some reviews of petroleum or fuel, and all the other things that comes along with it, what does that this mean to you? That's our conversation this morning. What should we really brace ourselves for? And so we'll be activating the phone lines shortly to hear your thoughts and, of course, your fears going ahead in life. Meanwhile, if you're looking for quick and hassle-free loan with no collateral required, look no further. Go straight to CBG. Now, CBG's Smart Loan is designed to help your business access funds without collateral. With their SME Smart Loan, you can access a quick and hassle-free loan without collateral. Now, it's comfortable. There's a comfortable monthly loan repayment schedule for you. Collection services with their Sika Collect platform to save you the trouble of visiting the branch to make payments. Don't let financial constraints hinder your entrepreneurial dream. Walk into any of the 114 branches nationwide or contact them by calling 0302 216 000 for more information. Now, you can also reach them on social media, on their social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send them a mail to info@cbg.com.gh or visit their website, www.cbg.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. CBG, as always, we stand with you. Now, let me tell you about Widilocks. And when we talk about Widilocks, we're talking about protection for your home and any other thing that is of value to you. Now, when you go to Widilocks, they deal in Israeli security doors. These are internal doors and external doors as well. Now, their doors are elegant and affordable and durable. It has Gladiator locking system. 13 bolts lock all round into the galvanized steel frame. Now, their doors do not make noise when opened or closed, which of course does not allow people to monitor the movement of people in the house. It is specifically coated with powder paint to avoid peeling of paint. It weighs over 60 kg for a single door. It comes in single, large, 1.5, and double doors. Now listen to this. You can also order for special height doors. Depending on the door frame or size of your door, you can order for special height doors. Their doors are made of galvanized steel, so it is rust-free. At Widilocks, keys are coded with 5 keys per door, which cannot, under any circumstances, be duplicated. Now, if you want peace of mind, security at home, your office, the banking hall, the warehouse, go straight to Widilocks to have a door that lasts so long without replacement. And there's a special offer for architects, for building contractors, and real estate developers. Contact them by visiting their showroom at Kwawoma. It's off the Durban Sokoban Road. You can call them also by sending a WhatsApp to 050-87-77755 or 0575-777-755. Widilocks, we protect what matters most to you.
So times are hard, and one thing on everybody's mind these days is cash. Whether it's cash to pay bills or for your kids' school fees, your home improvement, or your building project, Societe Generale has got your back. The bank has launched the biggest loans campaign of the year. That's the Yatiso Loans promo. SG Ghana is offering amazingly discounted interest rates on its loans. Both customers and non-customers, including staff on the controller and accountant general payroll, can enjoy access to heavily discounted loan rates. Yes, they say nowhere is cool, but SG Ghana Bank is here to lighten up your financial burdens. Get a loan by visiting any of the bank's 42 network outlets or call the call center on 0302 214 314 today. Always remember that terms and conditions do apply. Remember, the promo ends on the 7th of August 2023. Societe Generale, the future is you.
Indeed, the future is you. And let's talk about the Ghana AIDS Commission that says condomless sex is risky sex, and if it's not on, it is definitely not in. Now, their health centers across the country continue to record new HIV infections. Now, the 2021 HIV and AIDS estimates show that 16,938 new infections were recorded in that year alone. Now, this presupposes that people engage in risky behaviors, including having unprotected sex and abusing and injecting drugs. Sex may be fun, but HIV is not. Getting HIV from a few minutes of pleasure is not worth it. So be smart. Wear a condom every time you want to have sex. It will, protect you from sexually transmitted infections, including HIV. Now, if you inject drugs, listen, please do not share your injecting equipment with anyone else. This message is brought to you by the Ghana AIDS Commission. Ghana AIDS Commission working actively and in partnership towards elimination of HIV and AIDS.
So we have introduced Prostacure X capsules together with your trusted Prostacure herbal tea for prostate health and boost immune system, and this is from Medimosis. It's also good for improving urine flow and maximum male performance. MediPlus and Afromosis enhanced libido and satisfaction peak male vitality, vigor and performance. That's fire day in back. Try our new Femicure and X capsule. This is for menstrual problems such as menstrual pain, irregular menses, scanty flow or excess menstrual flow. It is also good for vaginal problems such as vaginal offensive discharge and tightened vaginal for maximum pleasure. Master Tea is a natural food supplement to improve insomnia, relax muscles, and reduce stress and invigorates the body, giving good health and vitality. You can also visit our clinic for the treatment of general illness, especially men with prostate disorders. Visit our clinic at Ahenema Kokobeng off Obuasi Santasi Road. The telephone number is 0249 542 481 or 0208 140 668. Please contact the following pharmacy shops for Medimosis, Master Tea. You can find them at Kolanak Herbal at Ashtown, Blessed Herbal at KO, Habme Herbal at Asafo, Labour and Green Light Herbal at Sunyani.
All right, so are you a qualified teacher or maybe you are a qualified nurse? Have you been hoping that, you get an employment soon? Well, that hope will not come to fruition if you are not lucky. This is so because, there is a bit of a freeze on public sector employment. It's all because of the IMF program that we are under. Now, if you heard me say about the unemployment figures for the third quarter of the year 2022, it stood at 1.76 million people who were unemployed. So maybe you were hoping that this year 2023 luck will shine on you and then you'll get some employment. Unfortunately, because we're under an IMF program, it might not see the light of day. What does this mean to you? What does this say to you? What fears does this bring to you? Aside from that, the minimum wage as we speak is 14 cedis 88 pesos, 14.88. Now, if you want to do some calculation with this figure, a month would mean that you'll be paid some 461 Ghana cedis. Now, this is the figure you'll be taking home if you fall within that bracket of the minimum wage. Fortunately, there are some people who are above it, like Leo Stanley, he's above it. But aside from the fact that he's above the minimum wage, there are concerns because per the program that we find ourselves under, there's going to be a quarterly review of utility prices. We're supposed to pay realistic tariffs for the electricity that we use. Again, what does this mean to you? Is it to suggest that, you might not even put on your lights at some points in time of the day or the week? How do you manage? How do you plan to even get by? There are a lot of fears, and we've been told to brace ourselves for some challenges ahead. As we speak, we'd like to hear your story and how you intend to go through a month. Call us now on 03220-83596, 03220-83596, and tell us, how you're going to manage listening to all that we've been told about. How are you going to manage? Call us now. Let's say your fears, let's say your concerns, let's say your thoughts. The number to call us on is 03220-83596 and share your concerns with us. Yesterday we talked about, some of the flagship programs that ought to go entirely or the ones that ought to be reviewed and what kind of review we should have for that very one. Again, if you listen into that conversation and you want to have a bite at it, well, you can feel free and call us and talk about it. So 03220-83596, 03220-83597, 03220-83598. Aside from that, well, we have a WhatsApp number. You can send us your voice messages to 05511119995. That's our WhatsApp number, 05511119995. Right, so the phone lines are now activated. I'm told that we're having some slight challenges. Let's try this one. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Dave.
Yes, sir. What's your name, boss?
My name is Samuel. I'm calling from Santa.
Oh, let me ask, do you work?
Yes, I do.
You are fortunate to have a work to do. So listening to some of the conditions that we are going to face being a part of the program for the IMF, what fears do you have? What concerns do you have?
But Dave, I stand to be corrected. I think that this year when the budget was read, that action had already been captured on the budget. I'm talking about the freeze on public sector employment. I stand to be corrected though, but I listened to the finance minister when he was reading the budget. I think that was there. So I don't know why people are trying to attribute it to us going to the IMF. You see, but then, David, as I have always said, if you are a government and you are not prepared to listen to suggestions, this is where we'll get to. Because, David, when you go to when you are sick and the symptoms of your sickness begin to show and you go to the hospital, I'm not sure it is going to be serious as when you are in coma. So this government was told earlier to go to the IMF and they refuse. And David.
So just to answer your point, as part of the conditionalities under the IMF program, we're supposed to limit the wage increase. Hello. So that is why we're saying that there's not going to be any adjustments to the wages because we need to limit the wages. And of course, employment is also going to be affected, especially for the public sector. But well noted, you are saying that, well, if somebody is given advice and the person fails to take the advice, these are some of the consequences. Well, 03220-83596 is also the number you can call us on. We have other numbers. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Well, what's your name, please?
This is Erasmus.
Erasmus, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Dave. Dave, you see, it's so pathetic when you live in a country where leaders and grown-ups refuse to think beyond the box. You see, we had countries having what we call state policies. But when you come here, do we have those things, David? We don't. We only allow people who call themselves politicians to come up with what they think we need, when in actual fact we don't need those things. So until we come to the point of having a state policy, David, these problems are going to persist. And I'm hoping and believing that one day we're going to have people who have vision, who will think of the interest of the nation rather than their selfish interest. And I think Ghana will go forward because with all the resources that we have, we don't need to come to this point, David.
But Erasmus, tell me, do you have fears? Do you have concerns? What are they?
David, I do. A lot of people are now depending on me. Now that the employment is going to be free. David, I think it's going to be serious.
Erasmus, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on our phone lines. Hi, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? All right, so you can also call us on 03220-83596, 03220-83597, and 03220-83598. I earlier mentioned that we're having a few challenges with our phone lines. I can see Francis and Thomas there trying to fix the challenge for us. But try, you might get through like Samuel did, like, Erasmus did. The number to call us on is 03220-83596, 83597, and 83598. You can also send us voice messages to 05511 11995. We're talking about the fact that we've been told to brace ourselves for hardships that are, coming our way. Especially when, you look at the, quarterly review of utility tariffs, fuel might go up and all other things might also be going up. Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Boss, what's your name?
My name is Kofi.
All right, Kofi, good to have you, sir. So, do you work? Do you have a job?
Yeah.
For you. But by listening to what we've been told so far, what concerns do you have?
Yeah. Thank you, David. The concern I have is that I think you, Love FM and generally multimedia, you are not sending out a good message to Ghanaians. As a matter of fact. Now, let's look at from this perspective. Assuming your elders has created a debt for you, can you continue to live frugally and be able to come out of your debt? You need to do some savings. You need to do some sacrifice. You need to be able to get out of the position that you find yourself now. So if the IMF is proposing a strategy like this electricity, we paying for electricity less than that we produce. Is it bad for them to say the tariffs should be reviewed quarterly? That is the only way we can do that.
So let me ask you, Kofi. Kofi, let me ask you a question, Kofi, if you don't mind. So during the 2016 campaign, when we were told that, listen, can you afford a ball of kinky? Can you afford fuel prices? Can you pay your electricity tariffs? For somebody who listened to those promises, those assurances that things will get better, if this is what they're having right now, do you think that they've been treated fairly?
No.
Why would you come and blame? So why would you come and blame the multimedia group?
Kwame Nkrumah time, they were saying, tighten your belt. It's a sacrifice that we are supposed to do. Otherwise, the debt will continue to hang on our neck. So this is why the media should be able to tell Ghanaians the only way we can get out of our present predicament is to do some sacrifice.
Well, sacrifices haven't been sacrifices for all these years. There was an occasion, like you said, tighten your belts. We did, whilst people were loosening their belts. We were told to bite the bullet, while others were avoiding the bullet itself. Well, Ivan Zunu joins me in the studios for a conversation. But listen, we'll be coming back to the phone lines. Oh, okay, fine. We should stay on the phone lines. 03220-83596, 83597, 83598. Charlie, looking at what we've been told to brace ourselves for, the hardships ahead, what are your concerns and your fears? Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Priscilla.
Your name?
Hello.
I didn't hear your name. So let's move on. Let's move on to a different caller because I could hardly hear.
Yeah, hello.
Hey.
Good morning.
Name?
Yeah, this is Luciano.
Luciano, let's hear you.
Yes, I hope you are doing very well.
Well, the Lord is my shepherd as well.
I think the comments made by Kofi is so unfortunate. Look, the average Ghanaian is suffering. And me, for instance, as an entrepreneur, 2021 December, I was buying a box of chicken for 90 cedis. By 2022 December, I was buying a box of chicken for 340 Ghana cedis. Within 1 year. So how do you tell me to tighten my belt?
The bullet.
Look, my only worry and fear is maybe one day we wake up and then we have a coup d'etat in this country. I think now that is the solution.
It is not the solution. Let's not encourage that. It is not the solution to this, what we're facing right now. It's not the solution. I think that going forward, we should listen carefully and be 100% sure which party or who we're voting for. And even if for whatever reason the person is not delivering, there are things that we can do. For example, like people have said, economists have said, let's go to the IMF early. We did not go to the IMF early. When our president was flying in a private jet and advice and cautions were put across, nobody really heeded to it. Christoph, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, David. How are you, sir?
Well.
David, I would say good morning to Nana Semenchia of SG Mall, the best mall in town now. David, we should raise ourselves up for the hardships ahead. David, for now, we should know that going forward, any government that takes us to the IMF has failed us. whether DPP, FDH, whatever, any government that will send Ghanaians send Ghana to IMF, it's a failure. David, all the promises they made, David, Bosha Kesiam share, I could say. So, David, look, I just bought LPG. I'm a kind of guy. 13 kg is 200 Ghana cedis. 13 kg, David. So, a family of 6 or 7, how many days will I use that? David, we should be both to tell this government that they failed us big time. In fact, the things they said was, they've not even done a quarter of them. Look, David, I'm telling Ghanaians, let's put our trust in God. Let's go to God. See, God will make it. But if you put our trust in these people, David and Sabbath before more. So we should believe in God. We should trust in God. We should keep praying. We should know that His name is called Jehovah Jireh, God our provider. So He will provide.
So you remember at the beginning of the year, we brought to you our financial clinic where we talked about, you starting your own business and managing your finances well, especially with the right investments as well. If you had done that from the beginning of the year, that is January, you might not feel too much of the pain that we are expecting. Evans is with us. Evans, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Now, Sintex is a market leader in water tanks in Ghana, with sizes ranging from 100 liters up to 25,000 liters. You are sure to have the size you need for your business or for your home. It's available in many different colors at no extra cost. I know that you're used to seeing the black around. No. There are different colors. There are a variety of colors out there. So depending on your house and the color you've painted your house, you can pick a color that will bring out the brightness of the building. Now, listen. Sintex has just launched a new Sintex Pure Gallon tank. Sell the strength of a Sintex tank with an affordable price. Get yours today from Sintex agents nationwide. Now, also for your information, Sintex does not just do only tanks. Sintex is your one-stop shop for all your plastic packaging needs. Call them today. Call them right now. 050-5555-666 to find out more, or send them a message on their social media handles at Sintex Ghana. Sintex, you're strong, you're tough. So, Nunu, we've been told that, there are tough times ahead and we should brace ourselves for it. How tough are the times ahead?
Obviously, very tough times ahead. If you look at everything the government is doing, and let me first of all say that I think the very first caller, because I was listening whilst driving here, was saying that it was captured in the budget. Let me be frank, or let us be frank with ourselves. This whole conversation about fiscal consolidation was sparked by the Article 4 report of the IMF. That was in 2021. And some of us even think that was a time we were supposed to have conversation about IMF bailout.
Going to the IMF, yeah.
Yeah, so if we captured that in our budget, even if we captured it, it was precipitated by the IMF Article 4 report. So that is it for the caller.
And indeed, to be specific, even with the report that has come out from the IMF itself, they're talking about limiting wages and employment as well. It's also there.
Yes,
it's there. But so we keep hearing that we should brace ourselves. What about the economy is going to hit us so hard that we need to brace ourselves? Now, I've already made mention of the fact that, for example, there's going to be a freeze on employment for the public sector. Yeah. I've already mentioned that we need to manage the wages. And no wonder the GBC is intending to go on a strike. They're planning to go on a strike because there are going to be some cuts on some allowances that they have of staff there. And Fair Wages and Salaries are saying that, well, they don't deserve those amounts of monies. So they're going to work on that and all. Again, we know that there's going to be this quarterly review of utilities, electricity and all that. Fuel and all that. For somebody who earns a minimum wage of $14.88, or somebody who earns, let's say, $2,000 roughly a month, how is this person supposed to survive looking at the situation we find ourselves in?
Okay, so David, which one do we tackle first? Do we tackle the how tough it will be first? Or
that was the first question, and then this one. So
okay, so then let's go the first one first.
How tough is it going to be?
Yes. Now, you know that government is doing everything possible to bring inflation down to, say, 28% by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that has been our fictitious target, because the real target has been 8% plus or minus 2. Now, I'm sure we are attempting to be more realistic, so we are targeting around 28%. Nice. Now, it only means that the government will try as much as possible to reduce money balances in the system. And the meaning of that is that the government would have to be careful how much money is pumped into the system, whether it is through salary adjustment, allowances, or whatever it is, and would have to do everything possible to take some off, or at least let it stay where it is. And it also means that the government will have to curtail or streamline its own expenditure. The meaning is that the government will not be buying so much and will not be spending too much. And if the government does not do that, businesses are affected somehow, and how much money fueling business activities are affected. It means that the system will be a bit dry, because the government itself will reduce how much money it is putting into the economy through its own fiscal policy. Now, because we are targeting a lower inflation rate, it also means that monetary-wise, the Bank of Ghana is likely to, and that is even captured, increase the policy rate intermittently. Increasing the policy rate will mean that the cost of borrowing will go high. So even if the government is not going to employ, the private sector will also not employ. And that is the meaning. So it's like double slaps on the face. So as it were, if the government is not employing, the government would have to create the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. Then the private sector can do the business of employment. But now, because the Bank of Ghana is also likely to increase the policy rate intermittently, it means that the private sector will also not have access to loanable funds to expand or create new businesses. So we have young graduates coming into the system. If they are not getting employment, they should be having access to loans to start their own businesses. Or if I have a daughter or a son, and even the person is not working, I should be able to get a loan for the person to start something off. But this is the case, you are unable to get anything. So we are not expanding the current businesses, and we are not creating new ones.
Is that to suggest that that figure of unemployment, which I mentioned as per the third quarter of last year, stood at 1.76 million, is going to get worse?
It's going to get worse. And remember, that figure is a figure for academic and the books, because how we define employment academically and even for government purposes could be different from realities. Because sometimes, even when we are doing the population census, and mostly that's where the figures come from, do well to check the definition for employment for population census. You realize that even if you make a mistake of rendering some part-to-part businesses or jobs, it will be captured as employment. So,
and then the government statistician the same. He gave a breakdown on unemployment situation where he brought out that report,
yes,
and stated that there are times when, depending on the person's qualification, the kind of job the person does for a particular period,
yes,
and then might go off that job again.
Yes.
So that's what you're saying.
Exactly. So the reality could be a bit different, slightly different. And so times will be really hard when the government is not employing, the private sector is not employing.
So the trained teacher, that trained nurse, who's praying for is it as clearance, certificate of clearance, so that the person can get employment, should close his mind?
It depends on do I say luck? Because obviously education is treated by the government as an essential sector.
Yeah.
So obviously there
plus
could
the
be
nursing, plus the health sector as well.
So for those sectors, they are likely to see some minimum employment. But as to the numbers coming out vis-a-vis the vacancies we have, that nobody can be sure of. So obviously, if you are the lucky one, you go through. And in Ghana, we define luck on the basis of whom you know or who is your uncle. So it may also depend on the protocol level of the person. But that notwithstanding, some are likely to be out of the scale.
Do you foresee that there will be labor unrest going forward? I mean, if, for example, I mentioned that of the GBC, who are saying, for example, that they are giving government a week because there are some cuts that are supposed to happen on their allowances and all that, and that they would go on a strike. Are we to see more labor unrest going forward? And if so, how would government be able to manage this? Because government itself has its hands tied.
Yeah, so it will depend on how the government rolls out its policies of achieving fiscal consolidation. So, for example, if the government is now saying that, or together with the IMF are saying that they are not likely to adjust salaries upwards so drastically, if that is the case, remember we have powerful organizations like the Ghana Medical Association, the UTAG. If all these people are affected, then obviously we will see a lot of unrest, but it depends on their negotiation skills and how the government will handle these things.
But does government have it to give? If you say the negotiation skills, and I've heard Professor Jampo raise concerns and spit out some blood spits and all that. Does government have what it takes to give to Labour?
Yes.
If Labour wants to really hold government by its whatever,
the government can have it if it really wants to have it.
Even under the IMF conditions?
Yeah, so you see, we don't have money, isn't it? Now,
Yeah.
that is the conversation. They didn't construct roads at Kumewu when the by-election came. What happened? We have Article 71 there. You see, I think that the government should begin looking at our laws well. So we have been complaining. Who is supposed to initiate it? So if the government really wants to have it, this is the best time for the government to start looking at our laws and the potholes in the system. We've talked about leakages and embezzlement, and so these are areas the government could look at, and the government can also start from streamlining its own activities and finances. Then it can have some excesses to handle or cater for these things. But if the government want to go the way it is going and relax, then obviously there could be labor unrest. But remember, the Ghana Medical Association and UTAC can force money from the government. Where does it come from? So the point is that the government must be strategic enough, because if it relaxes and the whole thing begins, then Bank of Ghana will be forced to do what it does. And if it happens like that, it means that organizations that are somehow, in quote, toothless will be hit the most harder. Because the thing is, I don't want to cite any organization or any institution for example, but the truth is, if those powerful ones are demanding and the Bank of Ghana is forced to help the government to do that, it means that it will further trigger inflation. So that if you have fixed salary, like say workers of Live FM, I'm not too sure every week your salaries are increased, so it could be increased by the end of the year. And if they manage to get it, it means that you that have salary adjustment annually will be hit harder. And the private sector wouldn't say that I'm going to check the inflationary level to increase your salary every week or every month or every quarter. You understand? So it means that fixed salary workers that are not too powerful will be affected the more.
But looking at all these measures that the IMF is hoping for us to put out or roll out, isn't it supposed to help us do better with the inflation figures?
You mean the policies?
The program that we are under, wouldn't it help us do better with inflation figures?
It will help us to do better with the inflation figures. But what I'm saying is that if the labor unrest and strikes begin, then it will further.
But if the inflation figures improve,
yes,
if it does better, if our forex does better, is it not to suggest, for example, then that, well, how much you earn, if you go to the market, you still will be able to buy them at that same price for a longer period, so you'll not really be hard hit?
No, so
if the CD to dollar does better, it means that, well, you can still do well when you go on the market.
No, so let me do this correction. When we say inflation is 28%, it doesn't mean that. So let's say we are at 40% and we get to 28%. It doesn't mean that prices have reduced by 28%. It only means that
it could stabilize.
Prices are increasing.
Oh, okay.
But at a rate of 28.
By a slow pace.
A slow pace.
A slow pace.
Yes.
Which is better than the 48 or the 54 we got to somewhere not long ago.
No, better because we have performed woefully bad. So, for example, hitherto, let's say 2 years ago, we're doing 8%, 9%. So if we are doing even 28%, it is as bad as anything. Because if you have you are a fixed salary earner and inflation is 28%, your salary is not increasing. And at the end of the period, prices have shot by 28%. You are still not, having the best out of your salary.
But it's better.
But it's better than 40%.
Better. Exactly.
Yes, but in general, it is still worse.
I understand you, but it's better. There's been an improvement. But for workers who keep asking for...
But David, if we say it's better, who made it like that? If the government government officials sit in their offices and inject more money into the system, because I'm saying that the government inject more money into the system because how much deficit have we been doing consistently over the past 4 years? And let me say this: if a government inject monies, especially through Bank of Ghana, into the economy, and that triggers inflation, the government is nothing but an invisible thief. You see.
But for workers who call for salary increases periodically and want to have allowances, do we work as hard as we want to be paid? Are we giving off our very best in the work we're doing? Are we being productive in our work?
I'm sure your question is directed to the public sector.
Yeah.
Yes, but to answer your question, let's say let's assume there's no public sector. Is the private sector not working? Is Love FM not working? Every private sector wouldn't relax. Every private sector organization wouldn't relax because it's private, and private people would work. If you were employed in a private firm, the organization, owners of the organization or shareholders will make sure that you are working. And so if the private sector is working hard and if inflation is that high, don't you think that they deserve higher salaries? So let's come to the private sector. With the private sector, let's remember that they are running services that no private individual would love to run. The meaning is that most of the services they run are not profitable. So let's say non-formal. How much do you want them to do? Let's say the soldiers. You go and see a soldier standing by a tree and protecting the tree. Don't think that they are wasting their time. We are not at war. When was the last time Ghana went to war? But we have soldiers. And we are always recruiting soldiers. So what are they going to do exactly? And they have guns. We've been buying guns for them. Meanwhile, we are not warring. So the private sector is not as if they have to do anything so special. Because in any case, if the government even doesn't do that, nobody will do it because it's not profitable in the first place. So we have few ones that are income generating, like let's say the DVLA and the hospitals. Those ones, yes, we can talk about it. But in most cases, or in most of the private sector organizations, the public sector organizations, they are not. Their job is like that. It shouldn't be too.
So what? We should not be recruiting.
Where
for the military?
No, I am saying that we recruit fire service people. We recruit soldiers, even when there is no war.
Okay.
And it tells you that the public sector is not something that should be. I don't know how to put it. Their output cannot be so much measured against any specific thing. They are there. You see,
but if we go to some places like the ministries and other places, we can be able to measure them, can we? And see whether they're giving off their very best, can't we?
Of course.
Let me also then drop in this question. So we're talking about taxes because one of the things that we've heard, again, has to do with the expansion of taxation, and that's why we're told about let's say the property tax and all that. For the people or persons who are in the private sector doing their own businesses, should they expect more taxes, and how are they going to fare under such, what they call taxes?
Yes, from all that we've seen from the previous years and the behavior of the government, we are likely to see more taxes in the next budget or in the subsequent budget because that has been the style of the government. And I think that is not the best way to go. Because if you are not employing people into the public sector or the existing organizations, and you are also not doing any monetary policy or running any monetary policy that will ensure the creation of more jobs, and the existing ones, you are crippling them with obnoxious taxes, I think that you just want to collapse the economy. You see, so if the government would even be careful with its own expenditure and reduce how much budget deficit we run, I think that going forward we will be fine. But introducing taxes, it's because the government still wants to behave its luxurious character and put all the burden on the private sector. You see, so how much sacrifice are government officials doing?
If all goes well, tomorrow we'll have the GRA join us for a conversation. The Ghana Revenue Authority, they'll join us for a conversation. I have heard about some business owners who do not pay VAT, who are into imports, who would, be taxed there. I mean, if all goes well, we'll bring you that conversation tomorrow. But having talked about the taxes, what about the extractive sector? People are of the view that they're not paying much, are they?
Yes, anything against the extractive sector, I'll be happy with it.
Any taxation?
Any taxation or anything to
in the direction of the extractive
sector, because we've been cheated for so long. Look, for me, anything that will generate revenue from that sector, that was why the three taxes, the amendment laws we had that introduced new taxes, I think stabilization fund or whatever it is.
Excise.
Yes. Yeah. That which had to do with the extractive industry, I supported it 100%, and I think that is what we should be looking at, because how much are we getting from our minerals? And the most pathetic thing is, go to Obuasi, look at their road networks. How much facilities do they have? I mean, then even check the road linking Obuasi and Takwa. Then you'll be sad. So I think that any attempt to get more revenue from the extractive sector should be welcomed by all.
So as we wrap up our conversation this morning, let me ask this. What should we be doing? How do we plan our lives? Is it to suggest that because there's going to be a quarterly review of electricity or utilities, we should be fetching less water or be putting on fewer lights or television? Is it to suggest that we'll be walking to work, trekking to work more than being a taxi or a trotro or something? What should we be planning going forward?
Yeah, so you've suggested one already, that management of our utilities. So you have to reduce how much electricity you consume as much as possible. If you are someone who would leave the light on even during the day, I think you just have to make sure that you personally go around as the head of the family and you are the spending officer of the family or the provider. You need to go around and make sure that all lights are off. And then with the water, you also try to manage it, especially how much bucket of water you bath in a day.
Some of us, they be living in the dark. But I'm speaking to you now, I have stopped using my microwave oven. A lot of the lights in the house, I don't put them on. Only the two porch lights in the night. So if I have to still go down. So it's not like when they say we should tighten our belt, it's not like we have not been tightening our belt. We have been.
You're tightening it already. Tighten some more.
It is even affecting your waist.
Tighten some more. Tighten it up some more.
But I also think that looking out for other sources of income would also help.
Exactly.
So with all the management, you also have to augment your mainstream salaries with or incomes with others.
But again, we say it like this and we make it seem and sound as if it's that easy to start something on your own. Because the environment itself is not that enabling enough. It's not that conducive enough. What do you want to really do? And the funny thing is, if you start one thing, somebody sits in the corner and realizes that, Charlie, everybody wants to go into that bit. And it becomes choked. God is our helper, huh? Well, Evans, let me say a big thank you to you for your time with us this morning.
You're always welcome, sir.
Charlie, we've been told to bite the blade before, tighten the belts. Now, if Kojo Ponkoma not long ago, 2 weeks or so ago, also talked about tightening the belt. So let's keep tightening our belt and hope for the better. God is our helper. We've got some messages for you, after which we cross over to Joy 99.7 for part 2 of that conversation on energy that began yesterday. Please stay tuned.
1xBet Jackpot is here with weekly massive prizes up for grabs. All you have to do is place your bets on any sports game and stand a chance to win. Simply register at 1xbet.com.gh. Use promo code JackpotGhana and place your bets. 1xBet is your key to great victories. Feel like a winner. 1xBet. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
Yes, DBS Industries has done it again. We have taken the lead by introducing the newest Colorlink Plus roofing sheets. It comes with 20-year warranty against fading.
Hold on a second. Did you say 20-year warranty against fading?
Yes. In addition, it has self-clean properties, meaning it has the ability to clean dirt that settles on it, making your roof look beautiful at all times.
This DBS offer is super cool.
Get your Colorlink Plus roofing sheet for your roof today. Look out for Colorlink imprint on our sheets. Locate DBS Limited in Kumasi on the Kumasi-Accra Road at Adakwajachi opposite Kwamo Guel filling station. Call our hotline on 050-600-4141 or 0543-286-637. Visit our other factories in Accra, Tamale and Takrady. DBS Industries, your roof experts.
Kwame, you said you wanted to study abroad, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I have some good news. Excel Plus Education Ghana. They are offering top-notch international education services. So your undergraduate or your graduate studies at a number of schools in the UK, USA, Canada, Germany, and Ireland are all sorted. See, there are no administrative or registration fees as well. It's free. Excel Plus Education Ghana serves as the legal representative for a number of institutions in Ghana, like Coventry University, University of of Aberdeen, University of Chester, among others. With them, there's a 100% chance of obtaining your visa and enrolling in the school of your choice. Locate Excel Plus in Kumasi at Ahonjo Atinga Junction on the first floor of the Nanata and Abasa building, and in Accra at Jolu next to Jolu Junior High School. Call or WhatsApp 0243-334-894 or visit their website at excelplusonline.com. Excel Plus Education Ghana, putting you in charge.
Come on over.
Hey, welcome back to work.
Charlie, thanks, bro. Thanks,
the
bro.
Malaria really knocked you down, eh?
Charlie, no joke. Hey, fever, headache, vomiting, loss of appetite. I couldn't even eat my usual fufu.
You and fufu?
How we go do it?
I hope you got tested before the malaria treatment.
Oh, yes, I did. And thanks to Malatu, I kicked out malaria one time.
Sharp. Anyway, sorry to ruin your excitement, but your boss asked of you.
Okay.
She says she has plenty work for you.
No problem, Charlie. Strength day.
You see,
When malaria strikes, take Malatu, containing Artemether and Lumefantrine. Comes in tablets and suspension for the effective treatment of malaria in adults and children. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor. Malatu is manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Company of Ghana. He's the one who is actually negotiating with the IPPs as we speak. He's got all the answers for our questions this morning. Charles Rekumbrube also needs no introduction. Dr. Charles Rekumbrube, aka Tarzan. He is the Chief Policy Analyst at the Ghana Institute for Public Policy Options, GIPO. He's got a bird's eye view of the sector. He'll be joining us, as well as Professor Seth Kofi Deborah, who's the director at the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. Very, very learned man who has a very clear understanding of some of the outside-the-box solutions we can be employing to ensure we keep the lights on. That's the conversation. We'll get into it in just a moment. Mr. Mahama is already with us in the studio. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Kojo.
Thanks for coming.
It didn't sound like I had a choice.
Yeah, we tried to make it sound like that. Anyway, it's that time of the day to order some tasty grilled chicken with fried rice, the best of its kind. Enjoy the aroma of carefully selected fresh ingredients. Feel the love in every bite of excellently savored and sizzled food. If you're working in Accra or Tema, call Lunch Avenue on 0558 502 206 to order fresh, home-cooked and nutritious meals. Lunch Avenue, tasty, yummy and healthy.
And the Ghana Revenue Authority announces for the information of the general public, especially importers, that with the passage of VAT Amendment Act 2022, Act 1082, all importers who qualify to register for VAT and have failed to do so will from today, Tuesday, 6th of June 2023, be charged an additional 12.5% on the customs value of taxable goods they import. Now, the upfront payment is charged at importation on taxable goods imported in commercial quantities with a value of 200,000 Ghana cedis and above. Kindly note that the upfront payment is not a new tax. It is a compliance tool to encourage persons required to register for VAT to register and file tax returns in order to bring parity in the administration of VAT. An importer who makes the upfront payment may be allowed to recover the amount when they register and file their VAT returns as stated in Act 1082. We therefore entreat all importers who qualify to register for VAT to make arrangements to register at the nearest taxpayer service center to avoid the upfront payment. Kindly contact GRA on toll-free 0800 900 110 or WhatsApp numbers 055 299 0000 or 0200 631664. Send an email to info@gra.gov.gh for further inquiries.
Wahese wako shop akodi dwa ahodoɔ basket ma emu provisions ɛne nneɛma ahodoɔ ehia wo pa we delay musa eduru so na ukotua nso a yaka kyerɛ wo sɛ untimi nchante ye chance number na so he ya keke na mom o de Vodafone cash dia unni ha okra yaka ko bia say dia untimi de Vodafone cash etua merchant bia or network bia so straight direct sharp enti say water provisions fuel inro inuane me kyerɛ sɛ bia o pese wo ye bia no Vodafone cash ama na ye mremremra ma o ne hia obɛya de sɛ obɛdial star 110 hash na tua ka ko merchant bia ho e network bia so Vodafone.
That is Ohimanio.
Daffy's or Yama feminine Miss Chanty. A master bosomene so Emma, ye bui and Sayente Yobia, a san siesi man cassa. Daffy Busiana Ekese, in tear their mouth for comfort and new panel. Daffy shower gel.
Super morning show. 100 megawatts and still charge you for the extra 100 megawatts. So either way, we are paying. It's not a great situation. The World Bank says so. Negotiations are ongoing. But how well are they going? Winston, you and I were talking about this earlier. Yeah. Mr. Mahama, I suppose this is a good question for us to start with. You're the one negotiating with the IPPs at the moment. Yesterday, they told Joy News, well, the chamber told Joy News that they have rejected the offer of government. And if they don't get 20% of their almost $2 billion bill paid by the end of this month, the switch off the lights.
So, all of this is also conversation. 20% of which how much goes to who? Because everybody's debt varies. Some's debt is more than the other. So if you're asking for the entire 20%, are you going to share it equally amongst everybody, or those who are owed more get more? So that's a conversation to be had. But in truth, I think the IPPs, I'd like to say a big thank you to them. We've had a very good and fruitful conversation with some. We are yet to speak with others. I think we are yet to speak to about 2 more, Sunana Sogli and Car Power. So we are just waiting. After those meetings, we'll finally have a full understanding of the way forward. But what I like to say about this whole thing is there's a social connotation to it, there's an operational connotation to it, and there's a finance connotation to it. You need to find a balance for all of it to fuse very well for it to make sense for the state. Currently, most of the capacity, excess capacity, in fact, let me just do this. When we say capacity charges, because there's a capacity charge still when you're buying energy, but that's the capacity of the engine that is used to generate the energy. So energy is the energy cost itself, which comprises some level of capacity, and then the fuel charge. So if I say I'm using 40% capacity of your plant, that 40% is what I should pay for, because that is what we have used. But for any other part of it that you haven't used, you get it. It doesn't pass through. So if it doesn't pass through and you don't charge the average Ghanaian for it, that means you can recover 1,000% of ECG dead bills out there, but you'll not be able to pay. You understand? So let's go back. In attacking these issues, you ask for the historical data, board minutes and all of that. You go through it and then you realize that during these conversations, nobody asks for the cash flow analysis of ECG before entering into these, PPAs. Fine. Granted. Now, all of these...
they had government guarantees, didn't they?
So, I'm coming to that. So, in moving forward, before you go, you set the whole thing up. You decide that you want to use a government guarantee. So that means government is to backstop the difference between what is at ECG, what ECG can pay, and what is left. Now the question is this: for how long is that sustainable? For how long is it that government should use money that it could have been using for something else to actually backstop energy? That is where the IMF wants us to get to. In my candid opinion, this is a holistic approach. This is non-partisan, but it should be it's a whole unified approach thing. Nobody should try and politicize this to the extent that, I didn't do this. Nobody is talking about what you did or what you didn't do. You understand? Because there's the need to feel like you are going to be blamed for something. So, but no, we are where we are now. What's the way forward? That should be the biggest conversation, because what has happened has happened. This is what's on record. So how do we move forward?
But they are saying they'll switch off the lights at the end of
So I'm saying, in all comfort to you and the good people of Ghana, we are doing our best. We continue to do our best. It won't get to that. It won't get to that.
So at the moment, what are they saying at the table? How is the negotiation actually going?
It's easy because of most of the NDAs that we've signed and everybody's conversation being different. All I will say is that there's a very good light at the end of the tunnel. And the way the conversations have gone so far, we can be very optimistic that this whole thing will be averted. Look, it's a morality fight both ways. I seem to find myself in this ECG job caught in morality fights left, right, and center. Before you came into being as a company, you came to Government of Ghana, you were setting up a business. You needed all of these take-or-pay agreements, these government guarantees, so that you'll be bankable. Government gave it to you. Now you're bankable, you're operational. Now it's about survival. Because what you used to come in, you now need to find a way to sustain yourself and be in the system. Because you are not going anywhere. And if you are not going anywhere, why don't we find a good way to manage you and see how best the tariffs will be reasonable for the good people of Ghana, and then how to move forward? Because the energy minister came up with a very good criteria that we have been trying to abide by. That they should come under 10 cents, no government guarantee, and we should find a way to make sure that it makes business sense for you to exist in Ghana.
So talking about making business sense, I'm sure for your customer listening to us this morning, what he really wants to know is the IPPs are saying by 30th June they will go off. Based on your discussions with them, you're left with 2 to engage. Will they go off by 30th June? Or you've had productive discussions and they won't go off?
We've had very, very productive discussions and they would not go off, with all confidence.
So we should ignore all this, we'll go off.
So I would say ignore, because we do owe them. So I would say ignore, but what I'll say is that the conversations are far advanced to avert something like this. And so I can say with all confidence that it won't come to that.
So what have you agreed on currently?
So, as I said earlier, there are a few NDAs in place, but let me give you a small whole. We are trying to find a way to make sure that the money expected of us to pay is reasonable and is within our reach. Because what IMF is saying that ring-fence legacy debt, but you have to stay current. If those excess and idle capacity charges are still existent, we cannot be current, because we will still be punching above our weight limit. So we need to find a way with all of them at the table to agree on an amount or a tariff that holds these excess payments for a longer period of time, and then we can consider it in a different form for them.
Let me understand something, because I know that in many of these negotiations we're looking at part of the reason they would have this take or pay is also to recover the amount they spent in constructing. I know as you negotiate, you probably would have said, okay, based on the recoveries made so far, we can now begin to look at a reduction. Have these IPPs recovered the cost of building their plants based on which you're pushing for a reduction?
So, in fairness, everybody has a different way of how they set up the plant.
Yeah.
Some of them self-financed, so they don't really have lenders that are disturbing them. Others have lenders that are disturbing them. As I said, everybody's problem is different. But holistically, what we have to look at is this. Let's look at Ghana's base load now. When you talk base load, you want to know about the barest minimum of power. Now, if you look at going forward, what would Ghana need in the next 4 or 5 years? You understand? Can we afford to do away with these guys? No. If you look at the current market trend, we cannot afford to not to do away with these guys. I see this as a very unique opportunity for all of us to sit around the table and fix this problem together. Because let's not forget, tomorrow I might not be there. Tomorrow you also will not be there. But somebody else comes to take over and this problem still persists. That means we didn't do ourselves any favors. It's a unique situation where The IPPs understand the situation of the government. ECG understands the situation on the ground. So let's all sit together and get to a figure that works. That would help you with your financing. That would also help you, will help with the lenders of those who brought their money in to help them.
Before we bring in our other guests, there's one other thing I want to check with you, and this came up yesterday. You've talked about how punitive these capacity charges are. It would be much better for everyone if they were not there, so we can stay current going forward. But you've signed a deal with AXA, which has in it a 40% guarantee of capacity charge.
Yes.
Why?
So AXA's, that particular PPA is kind of unique. It's unique in the sense that we got them at a point where their EPA or Emergency Power Agreement had expired.
Yeah, they were done.
They were done. Their plant was sitting there. So now the conversation is, should he dismantle the plant and go away, or what do you do? So at the instance, we had him in a very good place that we could use to budget for our country moving forward.
So we needed him. It's not like we could do without him.
We need.
I mean, calling him.
Only him, yeah. But he has they have a very ambidextrous engine. A portion of it can live on gas, and the other side can live on heavy fuel oil. Whenever there's gas shortage, guess what? You can fire him up on heavy fuel oil, which is very economical for electricity generation. So with that, we looked at it from a certain perspective. We said this is the best time to test the minister's the minister's new policy. Said, okay, we can do this under 10 cents. Government is not going to give you any guarantee whatsoever. And without a government guarantee, we can assure you that within the whole year, for your operations and maintenance purposes, we will dispatch 40% of your capacity. You understand? So with that in mind, I know that with AXA, at the end of the entire year, this is how much, if I stick to the 40, this is how much I will owe him. So guess what? We then prepared a cash flow analysis to support that. And as I'm speaking to you, we have something in place that if it continues in that manner, we always stay current with them. You understand what I mean? So with AXA, when I see people trying to play games with it, I say, don't you realize that this is probably the way to go? Because at this point in time, all the IPPs have their guns loaded and they have pointed everything at you. So why don't you speak to everybody and say, this one is working, it looks comfortable, why don't you all try and model to that effect? But if you try to attack something that is actually helping, then what are you doing to yourself?
So you would like to have similar deals with all the other IPPs?
Why not? Why not? Because at 92, your money is fixed. And if it's fixed, that means
92% capacity charge.
Exactly. So that means no matter what we do, how are we going to close that gap?
Right. I want to bring in Dr. Charles Reku-Brobe. He is Chief Policy Analyst at the Ghana Institute for Public Policy Options, GIPO. Doc, it's a pleasure to have you on the show as always. Good morning.
Good morning, Kuya.
So, I mean, you have a bird's eye view of the sector. We've listened to the negotiator who is talking about how things are going well, and he is hoping to strike much better affordable deals with these IPPs. In your estimation, how vulnerable is the nation to the IPPs and the current hold they have over us with this debt and the threat to switch off the lights?
Well, the reality is that the IPPs supply, as you already said, about half our power needs. We are in no position to increase our own domestic capacity. And if you're not paying for what we get them to produce, then clearly it's not worth their while being in business here. So it's important that we carry the conversation at two levels, as the MD has started. What do we do to make sure the lights stay on? That's number one. And that means dealing with how we structure existing debts. It's, whether the power purchase agreements were too high in terms of take or pay or not, we signed them. And so over the period, we owe the money. So the important thing is, how do you structure the discussion to make sure that both sides are satisfied in terms of some payments being made and some arrangements being made either to restructure some other payments and others. And then going forward, how do we make sure that we don't get ourselves into a situation where we are signing power purchase agreements of such high capacity charges? And in this regard, I want us to make a very big distinction between power purchase agreements for a regular addition to our generation capacity and power purchase agreements that falls on us because of we allow ourselves to get into emergency deficit situations. And you find that when you are in an emergency situation, you simply cannot do without anything but 100% capacity charge, making room for maintenance. So that's where you get a 92 from. If you negotiate on a proper tender basis, power needs for, let's say, the next 4, 5, 6 years, and you have the luxury, in a sense, to judge proposals from many, you find this is where you get into the 30-40% capacity availability and charges issues. But let's deal with it in two ways. The first one, how do we avoid shutdown? Let's also know that years ago it was decided that all generation capacity additions to our system will be provided by independent power producers. So going forward, I don't see any situation where Ghana is going to pay for generation. And we need to make things attractive for future IPPs to come to Ghana. And they will decide based on how we are treating those who have invested in our system now, whether it's worth their while bringing their investment to generate power here or not.
It's interesting you mentioned this, because I'm thinking back to the reason why we had Dumsor the last time. And at least we were told officially